Hi, and welcome everybody to the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Channel. I'm your host, Ross Benjamin. It's Tuesday afternoon. It's October the 3rd, and I'm joined by two gentlemen that have been around the sports betting industry longer than I have. Wow. In any event, uh, not a lot of people know him by Paul, but it is Paul Chip Chirimbes of GamblersWorld.net and also of GamblersWorld.net, Paul Bovi. So I'm honored to know that I'm hosting a show with the two best Pauls in the sports betting industry. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's true. So anyway, Chipper, how are you, my friend?
I'm great. We had a wonderful mega buck weekend. That is our single strongest play. We won them both on Saturday and Sunday. Sundays was a laugher with Tennessee, a big win, 27-3, I think it was, over Cincinnati. So
Yes.
Everything's coming along. Baseball, we've hit the 13 of our last 17 top plays. So each and every weekend, I know, like Paul, we're excited every time we see that schedule come out and those numbers pop up, and things just seem to be coming into place right now.
Well, that's good to hear. And Chipper, a good Major League Baseball handicapper, hot right now in Major League Baseball. And I want to remind you folks that right now at gamblersworld.net, Major League Baseball postseason package 199 guaranteed, folks. If you don't make a profit with any of the guys you invest in, you're going to get the 199 credited back to your account. So in most cases, I would say that's going to be a moot point. And I look forward to the Major League Baseball playoffs. One guy who doesn't do baseball, but he's a hell of a football handicapper, I can tell you that. And that's Mr. Paul Bovi, who now resides in Mexico. Paul, how are you?
Doing great. We had a nice weekend. 3-1 on Sunday. Saturday we lose the Akron game. Still go 2-1. We lose that game in overtime, and we gave out our fourth free winner last week with the Buffalo Bills. And we're going to look forward to getting our fifth as we cap the Steelers and the Ravens going into this week. So week 5 NFL, and looking for big things.
And I'm looking for big things from you, and I'm looking for big things from the guy on the other side of you, Mr. Chip. So yeah, a good weekend for me as well. 8-4 between college football and the NFL last week. Continuing to roll 38-13, all sports run, folks. I know that's hard to believe, but it's all documented, not only on our site, but several other sites. And yeah, just a dream run right now. But Chipper, when your things are going well, the breaks go your way too, right? You know what I mean? And when they're not, they seem to fall against you. Correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm one of the streakiest guys out there as well. And it's nice to have turned the page. And, for example, you have Duke 1 point lead with 30 seconds to go, and it looks like Notre Dame's
Yeah.
setting up for a field goal just to win and not cover. Not only do they bust the 31-yard run with virtually no time left, but they make the 2-point conversion. So, getting nipped like that certainly
Yeah.
puts a damper on your weekend, but otherwise it was certainly great.
Yeah, that's a textbook bad beat. And I
Yeah.
thought of a lot of people who had, because a lot of the guys on the site had Duke as well. And speaking of Notre Dame, I got to give them a lot of credit. Look, they didn't blow Duke out of the water. And Chipper just alluded to how they won the game. Okay, but they won, and they were coming off an emotional loss against Ohio State, excruciating loss against Ohio State the week before. They go into Duke, an undefeated ranked team with a very good defense. They come out with a win. Now this week they go on the road and they're playing Louisville, their third straight toughest game in a row. And if that's not bad enough, how could you look beyond a top 25 team because you got USC coming at home the following week? My point is, look at if they beat Louisville, if they beat USC, and I think they're going to beat USC. I can tell you right now, I don't look too far ahead, but USC doesn't stop anybody, Paul. Their offense is tremendous. They got the Heisman, defending Heisman Trophy winner. They score a ton of points, but they give up 42 to Colorado. They give up 28 to Arizona State the week before. I like this. I think this Notre Dame team, honestly, guys, and I don't want to look too far in ahead because they can get knocked off by Louisville because that's going to be a tough spot for them. But in any event, I mean, they went out. How could you leave them out of the playoff at the end, Paul?
Yeah, I would agree with you. And yes, I would agree. USC can't stop anybody. Look, I lost the Arizona State game when the Trojans did not cover, but I turned that into a positive because seeing that, I went over the 73 on Saturday against Colorado, and it was an easy get, cover, whatever you want to call it, hurdle the number, which they did in the third quarter, late in the third. So we snagged the money on that one. And yes, USC, not much of a defense. Notre Dame should easily take care of them.
Yeah, Notre Dame, I don't think people realize how good their defense is right now. I think this is the best Notre Dame team I've seen in years. And I don't mean to keep blowing that horn. You know, people have criticized Sam Hartman. But look, here's the thing. I'm impressed with the way Chip, he's playing within himself right now. And when I say that, he knows he's got a good defense. He knows he's got a good running game. Okay, he doesn't have to play hero ball like he did at Wake Forest. Exactly. He doesn't have to carry the team on his shoulders. He's not thrown an interception yet so far. So, I mean, I think the kid gets undue criticism because he's not putting up the monster numbers everybody expected him to, or similar to what he did at Wake Forest. Chipper?
I think he's using his maturity is what's happening. Yeah. He knows what's around him and what he has. And he's got a solid defense. You know, Wake Forest, I don't think I've ever really been able to claim that in spite of all the yardage and points he put up while he was there. So, you know, maybe it is his maturity. He's got this extra year. You know, we see so many of these guys coming out so early. I mean, look at Richardson at Indianapolis. And now we have a guy that's staying there and probably be more suitable for the pros when he does graduate.
We're going to talk about the Buffalo Bills with Chipper and their game with Jacksonville in London shortly. But, Paul, you know, we discussed this at length early in the season after the Jets game, but talking about guys coming into their own maturity-wise, Josh Allen certainly looks like he's done that over the last 3 weeks. Was really impressive last week. And, you know, I spoke to several people who were at that game on Sunday, and they said it was the most electric atmosphere they could remember in Western New York since the early 90s in their Super Bowl runs. But, yeah, I could be – I mean, you can make a case right now. He's a legitimate MVP candidate. No doubt about it. Besides, you know, in spite of that week one performance against the Jets.
I would agree with you. I mean, that was a fantastic, spectacular performance on Sunday by Josh Allen and the Bills, who just dismantled this Dolphin team, which I felt was highly overrated, coming in off a pasting of the Denver Broncos, which doesn't look so good right now because Justin Fields also pasted the Broncos on Sunday. I mean, yeah, Denver came back, won the game, give them a lot of credit. But it was not due to their defense, which allowed Fields 28-35 for 300 plus. So I felt Miami was overrated. I do think Buffalo may take a step back on Sunday against Jacksonville, but I don't want to steal any of Chip's thunder. He'll get to that game in a few minutes, but credit the Buffalo Bills for that performance on Sunday.
Well, we're on the topic. I agree because look, they're coming off an emotional win. I mentioned that with the electric crowd, and that's what my segue was to that. And the fact that Jacksonville is going to be playing their second game in a row in London, so they're going to be acclimated to the time change, the surroundings. Buffalo, after that huge win against Miami at home, now has to travel to Europe and get acclimated and sitting there waiting for them as a Jacksonville team coming off an impressive win, I guess you could say, last week, Chipper. But, yeah, I think it's a real tough spot for the Bills here.
Oh, I agree 100%. And here you have, like you said, Jacksonville laying in wait. I think they're playing their 11th or 10th game in London, so they've been more acclimated to it than any other NFL team. And, you know, Josh Allen, like you said, MVP number, 72 completions, and his last 94 attempts after that game one debacle. And 8 touchdown passes was only 1 INT, and they have been totally dominating. They dominated the Dolphins right from the beginning. Dolphins tried to keep up 14-14 at one time, and then when Diggs did his thing on that pass, that tremendous play and ran in for the touchdown, it was over for the Dolphins at that time. This Jacksonville team last week, I thought that the game in London, I missed it by a week. I said it would go over the total, and I think they were looking to put on a show. But it looks like, Ross, this is the week they should be putting on the show with the offensive numbers from these two clubs coming up. Lawrence hasn't been as spectacular as Allen, particularly with the touchdown passes. He is. I think he's got 4 touchdown passes and only 1 or 2 interceptions, whereas, of course, Allen has been just lighting up the scoreboard. Jacksonville, we said they're laying in wait. They're sitting home. Buffalo, after this big emotional win, has to travel across the ocean. They have to go to another continent. And here's Jacksonville that are 5-0 as an underdog in their last 5 times out, and 5-0 on the road. This is considered a road game. Last week's actually was considered a home game, so that's not even included in those stats. The problem here that I see this being a high-scoring game. I think I missed by a week, looking for the big performance in London. 21-9 to the under are the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm playing against teams with winning records, and it's just the opposite, the other way around with Buffalo, who's 12-3 to the over after they put up 350 yards offensively. But I think the key factor here, more than say the trends on the over-under, is the fact that Jacksonville's been there, and they've been sitting there for 2 weeks. Buffalo emotionally coming off that high, and Buffalo's been rising as a favorite here, which I was sort of taken back by it. I'm very surprised, unless they really expecting, the odds makers are expecting Buffalo to emerge as one of the top contenders as we had expected. But also, maybe Jacksonville has sort of lost their edge. We had said how they sort of backdoored their way into the playoffs last year, and a lot was expecting them this year more than probably. They're given more credit than they deserve, most likely, at this time, is what I'm trying to say. But I think Jacksonville's in a great spot to win the game.
Absolutely. It's not always about who the best team is on paper,
Right.
because I don't think you get any argument from any of us. The Buffalo's unequivocally the best team on paper in this matchup. However, it's the situation, like Chip just alluded to. They're having to travel to Europe, coming off an emotional game. Jacksonville playing their second game now in 2 weeks in London. I don't know, a lot of things going against the Bills. And then you couple in the factor, Paul, I looked at the betting numbers, the public betting numbers. I know it's still early, overwhelmingly on Buffalo, which is usually the kiss of death, right? Anyway, Paul, your take.
Well, it should be overwhelmingly on Buffalo, just like it was overwhelmingly on Miami on Sunday. And sometimes the public does get it wrong. I'm going to say most of the time they get it wrong, but sometimes they are right. But I think Buffalo is going to run into some headwinds, and I expected this at the beginning of the year. They have a very old secondary. So now Tre'Davious White has an ACL injury. He's going to be out. Benford is questionable. I think Micah Hyde is questionable. And I was expecting this because Hyde and Poyer, north side of 30 years old. Tre'Davious White had been injured before. So now you have to figure that Trevor Lawrence might have some open receivers. And a couple weeks ago against Houston, Ridley dropped a few passes. And I think their offense is going to start coming around. That this is the spot for it. So I'm looking for Jacksonville to put up 24 to 27 points here. And I think that may be good enough, probably will be good enough to get them a cover and probably take the game to the high side of the total.
Yeah, I agree. And again, good points about their secondary, Paul. Unfortunately, Tre'Davious White, who went through an ACL a couple years ago, took him a year and a half to get back, worked his way back into the lineup, was in top form once again. When he's healthy and in top form like he is, he's a top 10 cornerback in the NFL, but he's out for the year now. Christian Benford hurt his shoulder last week. He did return to the game and finish the game, which is a good sign. And then Jordan Poyer was hurt and out last week. And Micah Hyde, the last I looked, was in the tent, getting checked out for an injury. Now, having said that, the thing that could really save Buffalo defensively in this game, because their secondary is so banged up, is their pass rush, and it's been very, very good over the last few weeks. So we'll see what transpires there. But I agree with, I think all three of us are on board with the fact that at plus 5.5, And this is a difficult spot for Buffalo on many accounts. And nobody's trying to tell you that Jacksonville's a better team in this matchup. We're just saying this is a good spot to maybe fade the Bills. I mean, the Bills could still win the game. They're laying 5.5. So just keep that in mind, folks. Anyway, Paul, you're going to look at the Ravens and Steelers. Maybe early in the season we were looking at, wow, this is always a great matchup. But the way Pittsburgh's playing right now, they're just terrible. I mean, anemic offensively. And the Ravens, I don't know how much you can give them a lot. That killed me. My only loser on Sunday in the NFL was Cleveland. And that hour before game time, with nobody really leading on from the Cleveland organization that there was any possibility that Deshaun Watson was going to be held out of the game, they tell us a hour before game time that Deshaun Watson's out and they're going to be starting a rookie quarterback. Now, look, that's all part of it. Could have went my way too, But in any event, let's get back to this matchup. Right now, Baltimore's a 3.5-point favorite, a very low total of 38, which I think is justified. It doesn't matter what I think. It matters what Paul Bovi thinks.
Yeah, and I'm going to go under the low total here. And Pittsburgh's performance on Sunday, there's no other way to describe it except putrid. Offensively, defensively. Look, the Texans came in with 3 offensive linemen out of the game, and C.J. Stroud still put up big numbers, and Pierce did as well. So I just don't know what to make of the Steelers. They're kind of a Jekyll and Hyde team here. But the one thing I will say is their offense stinks. They had 63 yards of offense in the first half. Now, I understand you're going to get Mitch Trubisky in there for Kenny Pickett, which I feel is a definite upgrade. I didn't think Pickett would make the year, and I had this discussion earlier prior to the start of the season with someone, and unfortunately, this is going to work against me. This is a case where I'm right, but I'm going to be wrong because I have Pickett over, I think, 11.5 interceptions, and if he doesn't get back in there, he's not going to exceed that number. But last year, Trubisky played against Baltimore and put up decent numbers, 22 of 30 for 276 and a 16-14 loss. Lamar didn't play. Unfortunately, out of those 8 completions, 3 of them went into the hands of Baltimore defenders in the form of Patrick Queen, Roquan Smith, and one of the cornerbacks. So I think he's going to be very careful with the football. Now, go to the other side and look at the Ravens. What has Lamar Jackson been doing this year? Not a lot of anything. He's averaged 198 yards passing. He's the leading rusher. Last week in that Cleveland game, look, it wasn't so much Cleveland's offense that put up 28 points. It was just miscues by the Browns. The first touchdown, by the way, was an interception, a 51-yard run back to the 7-yard line, and a touchdown the very next play. Outside of a 43-yard completion to Zay Jones, 25 yards to the wideouts. Mark Andrews had a 36-yard reception. It was all yards after catch, and he dropped one in for 23 yards to Melvin Gordon. So Baltimore is basically 3 in a cloud of dust. So this is going to be probably a close game decided by a field goal, and it could be reminiscent of last year, 16-14. So it's a skinny number. I understand it. I already took under 38.5, but I think it's going to land right around 30. So to the low side here.
All right. Paul Bovi likes Baltimore and the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mistakenly said 38. It's 38.5. And that's, on a key number like 38, that's important to get that extra hook when you like the under. And you know what, Chip? The good news is the Browns defense has only allowed 4 touchdowns in their first 4 games. The bad news, their offense has allowed 3 touchdowns in the first 4 games. So, I mean, again, Paul alluded to the mistakes they're making, and that doesn't even include the 51-yard touchdown or 51-yard return that was deep in the territory. So, anyway, your take, Chipper.
Well, I expected much more out of Cleveland's defense last week. It didn't even look like they wanted to hit anybody. It looked to me as if Baltimore was just so much more physical. They just came out there, even, and just Edwards, they didn't want to tackle him, or Andrews rather. They didn't want any part of this guy. And he's a big man, I'll tell you that. So I have trouble with this Ravens team. I have trouble because their running game, which is dependent upon their quarterback, and their passing game has always been inconsistent over the years because of their quarterback. So I don't quite know how he's going to play. The situation with Deshaun Watson where he doesn't even play, you don't even get a chance. At least Jackson's out there and you know he's going to be out there giving his all. This Raven team is just so one-dimensional. I have a difficulty backing him.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not sold on Baltimore, and I just think that Lamar Jackson to me is, you're not going to win a Super Bowl title if he's going to be your main focus in terms of your running game. Right. He's a great athlete. Again, I don't think it's sustainable. Sooner or later, this guy's going to get. It's not like Josh Allen that we got mad at him because when he runs, he doesn't slide. This guy is taking off 10, 12, 14 times a game. We're in the NFL. We're not in college football now, where the athletes are bigger, stronger, faster, and the impact on tackles is much more powerful than at the college level, I would say, for the most part. But what do I know? In any event, I'm going to take a look at my game, and that's going to be the Philadelphia Eagles, who will travel to SoFi Stadium to take on the Los Angeles Rams in Los Angeles. And right now, Philadelphia is a 4.5-point favorite. The total is 50.5. This game opened with the Eagles at 6.5. Now it's down to 4.5, and the total has gone from 46.5 to 50.5. And you know what? These moves, I think, are pretty justified. Look, and here's the thing with the Eagles, guys. They're 4-0, right? They're the defending NFC champions. On paper, they're a superbly talented team. But right now, they've been very underwhelming. They played one solid game this year. That was a game at Tampa Bay on Monday night in which they won 25-11. The other 3 wins they've had were by 6 points or less. They escaped last week at home against Washington, 34-31 in overtime. That was the same Washington team that the week before got lambasted at home by Buffalo, 37-3. Philly has scored 25 points or more in all 4 games this year. There's no doubt they have very good talent at the skill positions. But under Sirianni, after scoring 25 or more in 4 straight games, they've gone 3-3 straight up and 0-6 against the spread. So, take that as you may. And I don't like to base a lot of things on trends, but that's under the same head coach. So keep that in mind. The Rams 2-2, deceiving 2-2, because if you look at their stat line, they're plus 97 yards per game in total offense. They also are right up there in time of possession, averaging 34 minutes and 5 seconds in time of possession. And that's a good reason why their defense is only allowing 295 yards per game. It's not so much that there's a shutdown defense, more than their offense is controlled the tempo of the game and limited the other team's offensive possessions. So they're also coming off a game in which they ran the ball for 164 yards, which is far and away their best effort of the season on the ground. The other 3 games, they were under 100 yards. Look, they almost blew a big lead last week at Indianapolis, but they pulled it out in overtime, 29-23. This is a Rams team that's averaging close to 400 yards per game in total offense. They've passed the ball for 297 yards in 3 or 4 games. And Philadelphia has allowed 300 or more yards passing twice and 258 on another occasion. So I think the Rams will be able to move the ball, even if it's a controlled passing game, and control the clock against a team that loves to control the clock in Philadelphia. And I just like the points here. I'm not going to go out on a limb and call for the outright upset. It wouldn't shock me. But if they're going to give me 4.5 points, and I like that, so I'm certainly going to take it. I'm not going to get greedy. And that's the direction I'm going to go. I'm going to go with the Rams plus 4.5 at home against Philly on Sunday. Chipper?
I'm kind of pleasantly surprised with the Rams. I think they were, sort of projected to be at the bottom of the rung this season. Matthew Stafford, of course, is playing well, and he really can throw the ball, and he's the big difference there. And I agree with you. I think Philadelphia may be coming back this week toward the pack a bit. So I would take the points here.
Yeah, they've been underwhelming so far, Paul.
Yeah.
And, I know there was a precedent set and there was a lot of expectations. There's also the losing team in the Super Bowl kind of hangover, if you believe in those types of theories, which right now looks pretty legitimate, even though they're 4-0. Like I said, they're barely getting by. What's your thoughts, Paul?
So a couple points here. Puka Nacua, favorite to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Clearly, 39 receptions for this guy and 52 targets. He's blowing away the pack right now. There's nobody even close to him. I think he's 4-1 or 5-1. Rest of the pack, 20-1 or better. You want to take a look at the offensive line here because the driver to the success of the Rams offense, in addition to Nacua, has been the offensive line. Last year, you had Joe Noteboom. The left tackle was out. Brian Allen, the center, was out. And Akram was out. I believe he's the right guard. So all three of these guys have been healthy. Now, unfortunately, Noteboom went out on Sunday. So you want to take a look at that to see if he's going to be healthy. I believe it was a hamstring or an ankle. I'm not sure. So that's going to be critical. And by the way, as prolific as the Rams offense has been, it could get even better because Cooper Kupp is going to practice this week and maybe in the lineup. So they may become absolutely unstoppable, and I don't think the Eagles are in a position to contain them. And as you pointed out, they have not been good this year. Their offense has gotten them by. I can't believe Ron Rivera didn't go for the 2-point conversion, tried to win that game in regulation on Sunday. That's absolutely awful because when you're on the road and you are the inferior team, you better try to win the game right then and there. So I just lost a lot of respect for him. But anyway, back to the Rams. I think they should get the cover here, as you stated. And certainly I think they're going to score some points.
Yeah, and the other part of that equation with Rivera, Riverboat Ron, where was it? Okay, there's a guy with the reputation of going for it all. And what does he do? He plays a conservative and he gets burned. In any event, all right, here's our picks. Chip Chirimbes likes the Jacksonville Jaguars plus the 5.5 against the Buffalo Bills. Paul Bovi, he likes the Baltimore Ravens and Pittsburgh Steelers game to go under 38.5. And I am going to go with the LA Rams plus the 4.5 at home against Philadelphia. Chipper, tell the folks why they should buy from you over at gamblersworld.net.
Well, because I'm back on track with my big game plays. That's how I hang my hat. Swept the board with our Megabuck winners. Have not posted a game of the year or game of the month yet. Usually comes in October, the first one conference-wise in college football. So I'm looking forward to that, but you're going to get at least 3 for a triple play of best bets, if not a Fab 5 on Saturday. And coming back once again, a 4-2 Sunday. And once again, my standalone winner, the Jets. That was easy, wasn't it? I love that one. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to have a big board for you this weekend. Don't hesitate. Log on, follow the buy links, and become an A-play winner.
Yeah, and when you're going good, Patrick Mahomes slides at the 1-yard line instead of scoring a touchdown. A lot of people are in an uproar, but folks, get over it. He did the right thing, He's not trying to screw you. He's trying to win a game. Paul, why should they buy from you over at gamblersworld.net?
I want to just say I got Todd Gurley a couple of years ago because he did that a few times.
I remember that.
And every time he did or didn't do it, it happened to go against me. I didn't really have a play on Monday night that would have decided anything. But anyway, these things happen. But we have a new breed of gambler in the last couple of years that complains about people going out of the game on the 5th play, and they don't understand the dynamic of trying to win a football game by running out the clock. But anyway, we had a 2-1 Saturday. As I mentioned, I lost the Akron game in overtime. Very disappointing. 3-1 Sunday. I already posted a few plays. And folks, let me just tell you something. I put big money on these plays. I'm not just here selling picks. I post my tickets inside these selections oftentimes, And I don't play for fun. I play seriously. So if you want to get on board, great. If you don't, you don't. But I will tell you that you want to follow the money, and the money is where it's at, and I play.
He is a real live wise guy, honestly, folks. I know because he shares his tickets and how much he plays on the game. And I see the line moves when his bets are made. I'm not saying they're all attributed to the bets he makes, but he's usually on the right side of a line move. And when I say the right side of a line move, he's getting a good number at the time he wagers compared to where it moves to. So to me, I think too many people throw the word wise guy around and think you have to be a mobster to be a wise guy and a sharp better. No, that's not the way it is. Come on. In any event, why should they buy from me? Chip says I'm streaky like him, and yeah, there's some validity to that. But after 2 months, I don't know how much streaky comes into play, but I know I've been pretty good. 38 and 13 since September 14th. And then I go back to August the 4th, 87 and 49 with all my picks. Yeah, I guess that's streaky, I guess, Major League Baseball, 13 and 4 with my last 17, 46 and 24 with my last 70. The postseason, again, folks, for me and Chipper, $199 will get you our MLB postseason package, guaranteed that if either one of us don't make a profit, you're going to get credited back your $199. And if you've been following me and Chip in baseball of late, I think there's a good probability you're not going to get a credit back. And you're going to be happy with that because you're going to make money. Who doesn't like to make money? College football, last 3 weeks, 16 and 3. College football best bets, top plays, whatever you want to call them. Mega bucks plays, what Chip calls them, all one and the same. 5-0 this year. I had 2 of them last week. I didn't have anything in week 0 and week 1. Then I reeled off 3 wins in a row. I had Oregon State as my Pac-12 game of the month on Friday. Easy winner over Utah. And then I had the Tennessee and South Carolina game over the total on Saturday. And it looked shaky for a while, but you look at the final score, and I won comfortably, but it wasn't that comfortable. But I'll take it, right, Chip? Who cares how you win? It's a winner, it's a winner, it's a winner. And I want to say this, folks. I want to thank all of you who have subscribed. We're over 11,000 subscribers. We passed that plateau a couple weeks ago. But another thing that I forgot to mention, we're over 1 million views now since this show started 3 years ago. So can't thank you enough, because without you guys viewing us, commenting, supporting us, the show wouldn't exist. So if you haven't subscribed already, I don't know what you're waiting for. It's absolutely free. There's no strings attached, no hidden agenda. You're just privy to the best sports betting podcast on the internet today. I say that with conviction. I say that with the utmost confidence. Look at the guys today, okay? These are 2 veterans. By the way, the last 2 shows, 5,800 views, over 6,000 last week, the most viewed show on the network over the last 2 weeks. So thank you, guys. You're doing a wonderful job. I mean that with all sincerity, okay? Very lucky to have 2 guys the caliber of these 2 guys right here, along with everybody else in the network. I want to remind you, Friday, we're going to do a live show. That goes at 3 p.m. Eastern time. Change of time. We want to accommodate those of you on the West Coast. You could chime in with all your questions and comments. We'll get to as many as we possibly can, time permitting. And then there's a like button right underneath it, right underneath the video box. So take a second, just hit the like button. It's just a small token of your appreciation for the work, time, effort, preparedness that we put into the show to make it a quality one. Not only that, like I've been saying for years, and I'll continue to say, the goal of this show is not always about picking free winners every time, because at the end of the day, we sell picks for a living. And unfortunately, folks, it's called Business 101, that our free picks are always going to be on our premium card. As a matter of fact, most times they're not. And in this particular instance, for example, I assigned the picks at the beginning of the week. So what Chip and Paul are giving you on these picks, they're putting their best foot forward, right? But it's not necessarily something they're going to use on the premium card. They're trying to put you in a winner's circle, with no pun intended. okay, with the picks we give. So keep that all in mind. And also, folks, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to hit the like button. And don't forget that Chipper and me, I have the $199 Major League Baseball postseason package. Paul Bovi, folks, real live wise guy here, man. I kid you not. When was the last time you even questioned what I came out of my mouth? Okay, so until the next time, for Chipper, for Mr. Bovi, and for myself, Ross Benjamin, take care and God bless, folks.